that has been shown by the entire state machinery in order to make them victims while they have been innocent all along.
So accountability for
and this has to be, yes,
people who be, as of now, who've been proved innocent.
And that should be fixed on the state administration, and it should directly be fixed on whoever heads the state.
Right. It's time for a short break now. We have more when we return. Welcome back. We are discussing the Godhra train burning case in which a special court has pronounced the death penalty for 11 convicted and awarded life sentence to 20 others. Mr. Arshad Khan, I want to come back to you. I know death sentence to 11 looks a little odd, but at the same time, there is a provision in law. For example, section 354(3) of the CRPC states very clearly that life imprisonment is the rule and capital sentence the exception. But when exception is resorted to, the reasons must be explained. And it also sets the guidelines for doing that. And it does mention that when the crime is brutal, grotesque, and enormous in proportion and targets a caste or a community, as has happened in this particular case, it would be justified. Do you think the judge could have taken recourse to this?
Well, for this, I think we will have to wait for the detailed judgment to come, in which probably the judge would list out what he thought are the reasons for having given this kind of harsh punishment. But one thing I am very clear, when it comes to intervention of the higher judiciary, you would understand, and probably all of us would sit there to know, that the amount of gaping loopholes in the prosecution theory, there is no way on earth that I think this judgment will stand with the higher judiciary, because it is very apparent from the very way the whole prosecution's witnesses and all have been put into account. How am I to justify a judgment in which the 9 prime eyewitnesses have been recused by the court? How am I to justify sentencing of these people when I know that the very conspiracy that the court has upheld, the conspirator has been acquitted on the matter? So there are several issues, and I think the last word on this matter is not spoken as yet, and I think justice will eventually be done in the higher court.
So let me bring you into the discussion now. Apparently Arshad has raised some points that 63 out of the 94 were acquitted. So there could be some even amongst the 31 who were either innocent or at least borderline cases.
See, Mr. Arshad has rightly commented that this is for the court which appreciates the evidence to evaluate. If the evidence is of such a nature and the higher court in appeal finds, if there is any appeal, then that these people also deserve acquittal or they should be given benefit of doubt, well, there would be definitely one. Our democracy, the beauty of our democracy is that there is a rule of law. Our judiciary is absolutely independent. It is impartial. It is not under the control or pressure of anyone. The court is not a political platform of anyone. Court does not speak for any particular community. Court definitely speaks on the evidence which is available on the record. If the evidence warrants and justifies the conviction and well sentencing also.
Well, I know, Mr. Chaudhary, there are a lot of beautiful things in our democracy that are happening, but at the same time there are a couple of black spots which have also occurred, and I think that's why we are discussing this kind of a case, which are saying in most advanced countries they have done away with the death penalty. Why are we continuing with it? Do you think we should continue to have a provision for death penalty?
नहीं, पता गल की है, इधर अंदर की है कि फर्क है भी उन्होंने की क्राइम किया है भी वो डेथ पेनल्टी उन्हें मिलनी चाहिए कि नहीं जिथे तुसी एक इनह्यूमन एक्ट कर रहे हो
उत्थे भी मर्डर्स हुंदे आ
नहीं मर्डर्स हुंदे आ उत्थे उन्हां दी सोच डिफरेंट है पर इत्थे जिहड़ा है तुसी एक कम्युनिटी दे उत्ते एक कम्युनिटी नूं हेट दी नज़र नाल देख के तुसी उन्हां ते सर क्राइम करो एक ਉਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹੀਏ ਵੀ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਛੱਡ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ ਐਜ਼ ਅ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਐਜ਼ ਅ ਅਮਾਨਵ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਛੱਡਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਇਸ ਮਾਮਲੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ
ਬਟ ਡੈਫੀਨਿਟਲੀ ਇਨ ਇੰਡੀਆ that has been a ever emerging debate whether to do away with the death penalty, but death penalty as it has been held by the Supreme Court in a catena of judgments that it is probably a necessary evil which has to be resorted to in rarest of rare cases, as you've read.
Can you really differentiate who all did what all?
We trust that our judiciary is strong and resilient enough to sift the grain from the chaff. We trust that the appreciation of evidence would be done in the most appropriate manner. We sitting as laymen at the moment also, because we don't have the entire evidence.
But since this has come almost 8 to 9 years after the incident happened, some people actually died too. So it's quite possible that some of those who have died, their actions are being put on the others who are still living.
The judiciary is very conscious. The disposal rate is much higher than what it was a few years back.
Mr. Arshad Khan, I know whether we're not debating whether it's justified or not, but the judgment appears harsh. But at the same time, do you think it's going to set the tone for action against all those who perpetrated whatever happened after the burning of the train?
My belief is that the retaliatory revenge that happened on the lives of 1200 Muslims who were brutally killed after the Godhra train carnage, it was very tacitly supported by the government, if not sponsored by them. So my belief is, who's going to go around finding evidence against the state and the administration itself?
But a lot of people are in the dock, they are facing
Yes, they are, and I know that there are going to be a few scapegoats. But eventually, I don't think the law of the land will reach to the necks of those who have been instrumental in making all of this happen. If such a thing were to happen, I think that would be the biggest day of celebration.
And maybe a lot of people could face the gallows, because if 31 are in the dock for killing 59 people, and there we had more than 1,000 people dead.
Well, I think this is where, though it's unfair to say this, but I think this is where the caste, color, creed, religion issue might just come up for debate.
I think
might just
we live in a democratic system, so maybe
I want to be
all that
optimistic
what
on
you say
this matter.
may not
I
be
want
true.
to be optimistic on this matter.
Vijay Singh ji, would you like to react to what Ashish says?
ਨਹੀਂ
ਇਹ ਆਂਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਜੋ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੋਇਆ ਉਹ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਕਰਾਇਆ, ਔਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਬਹੁਤੀ ਹੋਪ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜੋ ਬਾਅਦ ਚ ਹੋਇਆ, ਜਿਸ ਆਲਮੋਸਟ
ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਕਰਾਇਆ ਉਹ ਕਿਹਨੇ ਕਰਾਇਆ, ਉਹ ਕੌਣ ਸ਼ੜਯੰਤਰਕਾਰੀ ਸੀਗੇ,
ਉਹ ਤੇ ਫਸ ਗਿਆ
ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ
ਨਾ।
ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਭੇਜਿਆ
ਵਿਜੇ
ਸੀਗਾ।
ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਉਹ ਤੇ ਫਸ ਗਏ।
ਨਹੀਂ ਫਸੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹਜੇ ਪੂਰੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਪਰ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਫਸੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ
process ਤੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ।
ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਪਤਾ ਗੱਲ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੌਬ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਨਾ, ਮੌਬ ਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਨਾ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਇੱਕ ਸਟਰੈਂਥ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ 20-25 ਜਾਂ 63 ਬੰਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਨਸੈਪਟ ਕੀਤੀ, ਇਹ ਮੌਬ ਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ। ਮੌਬ ਉਸਲੇ ਸੀਗੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਟੈਕ ਹੋਏ ਆ, ਉਹ ਮੌਬ ਦੇ ਅਟੈਕ ਹੋਏ ਆ, ਉਹ ਮੌਬ ਨੇ ਕੀਤੇ।
वो ये कह रहे हैं कि जो हमने किया वो तो
हमने नहीं किया, हमने नहीं किया,
आपने किया, वो मॉब टेंडेंसी थी। ये तो होना है, we are going to hear many such statements in times
ये
to come।
आपने भी नहीं किया ना हमने किया।
हमने का मेरा मतलब
हमने तो
मेटाफोरिकली
किसी
था,
जो
metaphorically
यहाँ
था।
पे उसमें तो किसी ने नहीं किया।
किसी ने नहीं किया, हमसे मतलब मेटाफोरिकली था मेरा, लेकिन आप जो कह रहे हैं,
Well, I
whoever
sincerely-
conspirately did that,
I
those were the
बिल्कुल,
people who were
बिल्कुल।
individually
पहले
responsible,
मैं
but
कहता
what
हूँ
happened after that was mob tendency।
I
और यही
sincerely-
argument
I
होना है।
sincerely wish-
काम किया ना,
I sincerely wish that we address, we as Indians,
उनके ऊपर केस चलना चाहिए।
we as Indians rather than any community.
बिल्कुल।
ਇੱਕ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੁਣ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਬੜਾ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਉੱਠਦਾ ਵਾ ਕਿ ਚਲੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਪਨਿਸ਼ਮੈਂਟ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ whoever it is, I'm sure nobody came from outside, they were obviously somebody amongst us who did perpetrated that crime against 1,000-1,100 people also, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਖਤ ਸਜ਼ਾ ਮਿਲਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ।
ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਸਭ ਨੂੰ ਸਜ਼ਾ ਮਿਲਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਛੜਯੰਤਰ ਸਟਾਰਟ ਕੀਤਾ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਹ 1200 ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਕਤਲ ਦਾ ਕੇਸ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਚੱਲਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਵਜ੍ਹਾ ਨਾਲ 1200 ਬੰਦੇ ਮਰੇ ਆ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਛੜਯੰਤਰ ਕੀਤਾ, ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਜ਼ਿਸ਼ ਸੀਗੀ, ਕਿ ISI ਦੀ ਸਾਜ਼ਿਸ਼ ਸੀਗੀ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਮਸਜਿਦ ਚੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹਿੰਦੂਆਂ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਨਫ਼ਰਤ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ
ਕੋਈ ਸਾਜ਼ਿਸ਼। ਮਸਜਿਦ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਾ ਜੀ, ਮਸਜਿਦ ਦੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਾਹਨੂੰ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ, ਮਸਜਿਦ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਸਿਖਾਉਂਦਾ ਪਿਆ ਕਰੋ,
ਮਸਜਿਦ ਸਿਖਾਉਂਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਮਸਜਿਦ ਵਾਲੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ, ਇੱਕ ਹਿੰਦੂਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਫ਼ਰਤ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਛੜਯੰਤਰ
ਵਿਜੇ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਇਹ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਇਆ
ਸਾਡਾ ਧਾਰਮਿਕ ਸੰਗਠਨ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਪਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ, ਉੱਥੋਂ ਬੰਦੇ ਵਾਪਸ ਸਾਰੇ ਯੋਧੇ ਜਿੱਥੋਂ ਵਾਪਸ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਨਾ, ਟਾਰਗੇਟ ਕਿਤੇ ਬੰਦੇ
ਬਰਨਿੰਗ ਤੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਇਆ, ਪਰ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਿਲਿੰਗ, ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜੋ ਹੋਇਆ ਉਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਕਾਨੂੰਨੀ ਘਟਨਾ,
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਕਾਨੂੰਨੀ ਘਟਨਾ। ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਜੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਮਾਰਨ ਆਏਗਾ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੋ ਮਾਰ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਆ ਕੇ, ਮੇਰੇ ਬੇਟੇ ਦਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਫਰਜ਼ ਬਣਦਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਉਸ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਨਿਸ਼ ਕਰਾਂ। ਕੋਈ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਸਰਕਾਰ को ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮਦਦ नहीं मिल रही।
मैं इस वक्त आपसे ये कहना चाहता हूं कि I am on record saying that if these people who have been convicted of the crime that they have committed, if that be true, I will support the fact that yes, they deserved a punishment. Will you then also in the same breath stand up and say that if the perpetrators who have killed 1,200 Muslims, regardless of their standing in society, regardless of the fact that they may be politicians who have decided, will you also say that yes, they have
so I think at least this is a point on which we agree, or both of you at least agree, right?
Do you
think this is going to, whatever, see, stringent punishment in this case is very evident, this is going to set the tone for similar stringent punishment for all criminal actions with communal intent?
Correct.
This will?
Definitely, and in cases of such, I would say, gruesome and brutal murders, irrespective of the perpetrators belong to any community, terrorists do not have any community. It is I would say, a dastardly brutal attack, and if the court feels that it is a case of rare nature, well, very well, then under the statute death penalty has been prescribed.
But the only problem will be that when we start investigating all those cases, killing of almost 1,000, 1,100, some say even 1,200 people, you know, it all depends on the kind of evidence that you have. How do you bring in that kind of evidence? And if some people, I'm not saying the state as a state was responsible, at least some people in the state definitely had some kind of a role, it appears, from various inquiries.
See,
So how do you bring those people to task? How do you bring forth such evidence to convict those people?
see, absolutely, in this country we have an investigative mechanism, and we want to believe that the investigating agencies conduct their duties in a fair manner. In this case particularly, well, I am aware that there were petitions up to the Supreme Court where the investigating agencies, Supreme Court had a mechanism of overseeing these kind of investigations, and the matter is definitely going to be placed before very, very experienced judges of our country as the matter goes into the higher forums, and therefore we expect that the judges would be able to dissect.
But what should be done to speed up these cases? Now this single case has taken a total of 9 years, you know, starting from the time the incident happened, though of course the trial started only in 2009. So how do we speed up these cases? Because before they reached the final stage, which would be now the High Court and then the Supreme Court, if it is another maybe 5, 7, 9 years, then I think it's justice delayed and justice denied then.
See, there is another maxim which I must tell you, justice hurried is justice buried. Please understand the complexity for a judge. This case would require evaluation of evidence which would be running into a few thousand pages. This would require the judge's attention being drawn to various facts and myriad circumstances, which if the judge will not apply his mind in a peaceful manner, probably.
But now it's already 9 years, so I think you agree that we need to speed up these cases.
Definitely, I think the court should be constituted dedicated to such cases.
Where Singh ji, you also agree with Mr. Chaudhary that a special court should be dedicated to such cases and we need to speed up these cases.
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ 84 ਦੰਗੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਦਿਮਾਗ 'ਚ ਹਜੇ ਪਏ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਵੀ 84 ਦੰਗਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਕੀ ਰਿਹਾ, ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਕੀ ਕਰਦੀ ਪਈ ਹੈ।
Arshad Khan, do you think we need to speed up these cases or maybe put a time frame so that otherwise this could actually lead to alienation, that in one case you convicted so many people and the other cases that's just lingering?
But before I answer, just one word on the fact as to what is to be done for the alienation already caused. I think a healing touch is required. Repeatedly I am saying of all the people who have been acquitted,
we're running out of time, but what kind of healing touch you have in mind?
The healing touch is that there has to be compensation. Somebody has to reach out from society and tell those people that the ones who have been acquitted, they have been wrongly confined, that there has been gross injustice meted out to them. And it is not about compensation in the way of monetary compensation. Reach out to them and tell them, listen, you are brothers of ours and that we have accused you wrongly. That has to happen. That healing touch must happen immediately.
So we all agree that some kind of healing touch, the process of the healing touch, we may or may not agree. Thank you very much for joining us in the discussion. It was a very sensitive subject and you decided to come for this discussion. The decision of the special court in the Godhra train burning should hopefully set the tone for stringent punishment for all those indulging in criminal actions with communal intent. Similar action should follow those who took part in the violence in Gujarat that followed this train burning incident, which claimed almost 1,000 lives. One also hopes that all this happens fast and very fast. With that, we end this edition of Day and Night Prime. We meet again tomorrow with another issue. Till then, good luck and goodbye.